so excited to be here with you today. I was saying that this might be my third or fourth time, and every year it's a wonderful event, so thank you for having me. And I'm so thrilled to share with you today Where Culture Plays, tapping into the power of gaming audiences. So I'm Melinda Spence, as you might have heard, a Director of Advertising Research at Activision Blizzard Media. We're going to have a fireside chat in just a little bit, but I'm going to prime the session with a few slides on gaming, how it influences and how brands can tap into the joy that gaming brings. In case you don't know us, we are Activision Blizzard Media, and we represent some of the most iconic franchises in the world, everything from Activision's Call of Duty to King's Candy Crush Saga to Microsoft's Halo. But across our whole portfolio, a massive portfolio, we truly have something for everyone. So gaming isn't just having a moment. It's a global habit that 3.6 billion people tap into. Bringing this a little bit closer to home, 71% of the UK population play video games. Gaming, as I'm sure you can see from among the pictures here, is a cultural and commercial force. It's not just the playing that people love, of course that's a huge part of it, but it's also the community that comes with it. And it spans mobile, PC, console, and beyond, as many of you know. What makes gaming unique is not only its scale, but also its presence. Players connect, like I said, through mobile, PC, console, and more, but they're also connecting with it from dawn to dusk, and then really dawn again. So they carry this fandom with them everywhere and through every time. Really, if you pay attention to the blue line here, which is the media, well, all the media activities, but the blue line is gaming, it's important to note that players prioritize gaming as their #1 media activity throughout most of the day. And for brands that want to be a part of this phenomenon, they have good reason. Gaming is highly immersive. People are deeply engaged when they're playing. They're highly attentive. And this is an amazing advertising, this is the perfect environment for advertising because it's where advertising can thrive. Because when people are gaming, even if they're doing another activity, not just media activity, but any activity, hopefully not driving, please don't, they're focused on what's happening on the gaming screen. So that's where their attention is, no matter what else is going on. And earlier I mentioned community, we mentioned fandom. These things really matter. In fact, our research shows that everything is amplified by fandom. We see increases in favorability, trust, and purchase intent when brands connect authentically with passionate gaming audiences. But with great power comes great responsibility. We have to make sure that the creative is aligned to the gaming environment. Not anything will work in anything, as we all know in the advertising industry. And so this is how you get started. You adopt a player-first mindset, so look for how your brand and the game can relate, understand the objectives you're trying to achieve for your brand, and partner with experts like us. So this was the pre-session to the fireside chat. I'm going to pass you along in just a second to a couple more experts. If you're interested in any more of the insights, you can check out our website right here. But to carry this forward into how to get you started are two great people, Chris Bales and Jamie Lyons. So thank you so much.
It's the little things that get me high. Won't you come with me and spend the night? Just a little thing for you and I. And if it's meant to be, then
Thank you, Melinda. Thank you for the wolf whistle as well. Unnecessary, but appreciated. Also, yeah, firstly, just the attention to detail here. You'll notice the cards matching the slide. Jamie goes and gets his hair cut. Cheers. But look, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed that intro. Firstly, welcome Jamie as well, Jamie Lyons. It's always a pleasure to be in your company, sir. And thank you for taking the time to join us. Hopefully we're going to share some real cultural nuggets for the audience today. Firstly, just to kick off, your title alone, Global Head of Gaming and Virtual Experience, speaks volumes about the importance that PhD places on this space. Can you tell us just a little bit about your role as it stands at the moment and how it's viewed inside the agency?
Of course. I mean, it's a lofty title for decks and spreadsheets, but with it is definitely an acknowledgement, I believe, from PhD and from OMG, our holding company, that gaming is really important and not other necessarily. We call it out as gaming, but it's really integrated into the way we look at media, the way we look at comms, the way we look at audiences and behaviors. And so I'm quite fortunate to have like a place on the board in the UK, and I'm on the Global Strategy Council in the EMEA team, and it means that I do actually get to elevate gaming somewhat to those who might not necessarily have it as part of their core remit. So the powers that be are aware that this is what's happening within these spaces, here's what we're doing, and we need to keep investing and growing and expanding and developing into all these different parts of the ecosystem.
Okay, awesome. I think as well, one of the big things for me is the kind of the why of gaming and the how of gaming. It's a massive thing within the ecosystem, isn't it? And I think there's some real kind of opportunities across this. So thinking like for marketers, I guess it's one thing to know gaming is massive, gaming is cross-platform, gaming is effective. But I'd say the harder question is the how, right? How should it fit into the media mix? We get asked that a ton of times. I think it's a lot more powerful getting, hopefully, an answer for you. But when you're advising clients, how do you frame gaming as part of the broader media landscape, if you like?
It depends. I would leave it there, but no. It's, essentially, gaming is not a media channel, right? This is the starting tenet of most of the conversations I have. I want some gaming doesn't necessarily give the right answer. Instead, it's got to be tailored to the business or marketing or comms challenge that a client has. And gaming is so ubiquitous with so many people that you almost need to chunk it down a little bit as well. And so the most kind of simple way we look at this is if a client is considering something where they're trying to drive as much possible exposure, they want reach and frequency, they've got an asset, they want to ensure they reach their audience as much as possible in a high impact environment, then we know that a role that gaming could play would be to use it as a platform, to look into the inventory that you guys have, for instance, to look at the mobile space, to look at serving around the game experience to customers and audiences who aren't necessarily always playing games, but that's part of their media consumption, right? So if we've got a reach and frequency challenge with this audience, we'll look into gaming solutions that look to answer that question, to give something to them which other things on their media plan might well not do as efficiently or not be able to reach those pockets and those corners. At the other end of the spectrum, and there are so many gradations in between, it could be that a brand is really struggling to build reappraisal with a 16-24 audience. They might be a 150-year-old brand desperately trying to show what they have, but they have this legacy reputation, this legacy connection, which the younger audience might not necessarily think of them positively or at all. And so we can't necessarily rely on the legacy kind of brand building structures that we used to see from TV. So I might have a perception of a certain automotive brand because I'd watched Top Gear as a child, and that car would be there and presented as something to aspire to. If we don't have those shared TV viewer moments to the same scale, if we've all got our own screens and we're all in our own ecosystem of entertainment and media, then you need to build those associations a little bit differently. So the challenge there could well be, well, how do we connect with certain pockets of gaming culture, different communities or genres or titles, in a way that builds a real meaningful connection with this audience who might not know how much craftsmanship goes into our product, who might not really care about our legacy in different places. And in those instances, gaming can be positioned as, well, this is a way to rebuild our brand for this particular segment of audience. And we might not necessarily put videos on Candy Crush for that, although it may end up there at the end.
No, it's a great point as well. So you've almost got the why, the how, but you're telling the what is so important as well, what it can deliver. And I guess, a lot of that was in Melinda's slides as well that we've just seen. But I think that's a really, really powerful position for us to be supporting you, supporting our clients in terms of how we show up on a plan, whether it's attention, whether it's reach, whether it's, tapping into a cultural moment. So, yeah, love that. Thank you very much. When brands approach you about gaming, we all know there's a ton of misconceptions. I don't think I go to a single meeting where I'm not addressing misconceptions. And they do often, they often have these misconceptions about gaming fans and communities. How do you help them get through these and talk about authentic activations?
Yeah, I mean, authenticity is potentially overused in the context of gaming because authenticity is different things to different people, and authentic, also, if it's too authentic, could be missed, right? You could just seamlessly blend into this. And I've spent the majority of my time in and around the gaming media space trying to come up with metaphors and similes and allegories that will help land it. One that I really used to lean on was like a lowercase g gamer is someone who doesn't identify with gaming but plays games in those little moments, and they are worthy of reaching in certain environments. And at the other end of the spectrum, a capital G gamer is a proper noun gamer. They identify with it. It's a passion. It's the way through to them. It's the only way to reach them. But I'm not going to use that one today, despite the fact I just said the whole thing. I think one way that I think it's a really nice way to frame it is sport as an entire entity, right? If someone has a dating profile and they're into sport, that's going to raise an eyebrow. Not much detail there, doesn't really mean anything. But gaming is used interchangeably with all the different subcultures of it in the way that sport isn't. And the reality is that if you're into sport, it could be that there are certain sports you absolutely love. You might be willing to watch anything on telly, or you might only care about 2 or 3 sports. You might play to various degrees, to various frequencies. You might use it as an opportunity to bond with your kids. You might connect with different fandoms through it. It might be a lens for all of the content you consume and all of the creators that you engage with. It might be your everything, or it could be something you just occasionally watch if it's on the TV. Gaming has so many parallels with that, because although it's flipped a little bit in that I'd say the playing is more commonplace than the observing in gaming, whereas I'd say that in sport, that's probably the inverse for most, there is this entire ecosystem built around this concept of gaming, but within it, there are so many different nuances and bits and pieces and communities and fandoms. And so to try and just tackle gaming is like trying to tackle sport, right? This is an opportunity in so many ways to connect with the media and the audience and the touch points and the community and the culture, but you can't do it as one. It's not like an homogenized mass. It is something which needs a little bit of nuance and a little bit of thinking. And that doesn't mean it has to be complicated. You just need to think about, well, what do we want to deliver from this? Which games do we want to reach? Of the 3 billion odd people, which I think for Gen Z, more Gen Z play computer games than clean their teeth twice a day, this is not an audience, right? This is just one of the things. And really what we need is to go that little level further, whether that's from a brand objective, like we want to use gaming to do X, Y, or Z, or we want to connect with these pockets of gamers, or this gaming space, or this cultural element. And from there, you can start to get a little bit more of a grasp on what fandom means in this context and what the media opportunity really is, rather than going, we tried gaming and it failed horribly because we didn't connect it to the audience we were trying to reach specifically, or the goals we were trying to achieve.
Yeah, I love that analogy around sport, and especially around the idea of cultural moments, because that's very much what gaming has become, hasn't it? Where it's Black Ops 7 coming out in a couple of weeks' time, early November, or GTA 6, which is, billed to be one of the biggest cultural moments I feel like of my lifetime at the moment. Quick fun fact about this: $2 billion it cost to make. The Burj Khalifa cost $1.5 billion to build. Unbelievable. It's supposed to gross more money than 70% of Hollywood in the first 60 days since release as well. So if that's not a cultural moment, I don't know what is.
And to stretch the sports parallel to Breaking Point, I will see a lot of briefs where brands are asking, how do we connect meaningfully around the World Cup without official tie-ins? How do we make the most of this moment? I haven't had as many about GTA. No. Despite the fact that for many, this will be a much more fundamental moment for them. Admittedly, it's been shifted back that many times that you can't really plan for it. But there's definitely a sense that there may well be, I think, within the gaming industry specifically, rather than just the media around it, a pre-GTA 6 and post-GTA 6 landscape. What they choose to do and the way that lands could well completely reshape not just the game industry, but then how consumers expect games to behave and publishers to behave, and generally how that whole ecosystem comes to function.
Yeah, that's an amazing point. We've already collaborated on a whole range of campaigns together, which we won't go into today, although the results are outstanding. But for Awarded Video and Candy Crush, 2 experiences on Xbox, when you're looking at these kind of activations, what stands out to you about why they've worked? And then secondly to that, how do you think about bringing clients into opportunities like these?
So the key to the success of them is just a solid product, as the right answer to the brief. Rarely will an Xbox answer deliver the same result as a Candy Crush answer, so you have to have that first awareness and diagnostic piece. But then, it's been done well, but I think really the bit that has made the big difference is the fact that Activision Blizzard and Xbox historically already had such kind of gravity in the space. They're already known entities. And even to marketeers who aren't necessarily particularly comfortable with gaming or up to speed with it, they are trusted voices, right? You are representing very well-established bodies within the gaming ecosystem, which have seeped into mainstream culture anyway, so they're known. And as a result, you get that immediate kind of like, OK, there is some credibility here. And that's often the obstacle we have with gaming, right? We have to get over quite a lot of cynicism or often a view that we don't get it, therefore it can't work. And I think you guys overcome a lot of that, and that really helps get that first foot in the door. And from there, the case studies, the evidence historically, the really articulate research as well that you guys pull together, which you guys have just seen some of, and I often parrot as not my own, but I don't always cite them, because it's very, very good. All of that stuff really plays into getting it on the table. And when it's on the table, if you get a pilot through the door, you rarely stop there, because the results will speak for themselves, and it will fuel more and more kind of progress into the gaming space.
Yeah, I think that's so true as well. I think the results do speak for themselves. I think one of maybe the shortcomings of our industry is we don't shout about the results enough and how much attention can move the metrics for brand uplift and sales uplift, purchase intent, whatever you're looking at. But they're incredibly important markers, right? And results in terms of being able to be driven by gaming alone. So, yeah, awesome point. Gaming's already massive today, but with your expertise, Jamie, you've been doing this a long time, not as long as me, I hasten to add, but what shifts in client expectation or player behavior do you think will shape how agencies and brands approach gaming over the next few years?
Two big bets on this one. Social media is not very social anymore, as gaming is actually becoming more social. So people are hanging out and collaborating in games, whereas social media, a lot of it is just becoming like a one-way broadcast channel in the way it's being consumed. So I feel that there's going to be a bit more of an awareness from brands as they see more of a movement towards people hanging out in games rather than just playing it as an entertainment pursuit. So if you look at the success of Roblox, if you've not been leaned into it, you might not realize that it's because it's a place to hang out. It's not necessarily the game world that's driving the popularity and the growth. And they're even launching their own within-world social platforms. So I think awareness of that communities exist within game platforms is going to be a massive breakthrough because the consumer behavior is already there. I think the next bastion for the consumer behavior, which will actually more immediately be realized by brands, is the shift potentially away from hardware and towards more of a model that we're used to from streaming video. So within Xbox, you've got the cloud gaming solution there that's being pushed. There's definitely a view now that we have enough potential and power in the cloud that we don't need the hardware as much as we did. And with that, things like Xbox Game Pass and other kind of game subscription services become a lot more relevant because you don't have the hardware. Why do you need a disc? Because there's nothing to put it in. So have your whole library and stream these games as you want them. If you look at what happened with SVOD, it quickly became ad-funded in certain tiers. So if everything's moving from hardware and a disk to cloud-based through whatever peripheral, then why would you not then imagine that rather than paying £20 a month, you'd pay £10 a month and have a couple of ads in front of it? And that becomes immediately on the radar of brands and agencies as something which is akin to the BVOD products we see now, the CTV products we see now. So I think that consumer behavior, as that moves, will more quickly be leapt on, because it'll be monetized more quickly by the likes of yourselves, I'd hope, and we would buy it. It's just that straightforward. This is high-attention premium media that doesn't yet exist.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a massive opportunity, and it feels like we're just kind of scratching the surface on it. But the vision, obviously, for us is limitless play, frictionless gameplay, wherever you may be, whatever platform you're using, whatever screen you're using. So for us as well, really excited about the future there as well. Just lastly, what makes for the most successful brand, agency, and publisher partnership in gaming, do you think? And bolted onto that, what do you look for from partners like us to help you deliver for your clients?
It's a bit cheesy, but it is collaboration and innovation. So gaming is already massive, and it has been massive for ages. It's only now we're starting to unlock the media bits connected to that. There've been a few false starts historically with adverts in games, and then it came back again, I'd say about 5 years ago, with a little bit more force. And only now, I think, are we starting to have ad products that reflect the nuance of the audience experience and the communities in there. And so as a result, what we look for is a way to bridge the gap a little bit. We look for an opportunity to take our client's ask and work with the likes of yourselves to find a solution that really does tap into what we want to achieve rather than necessarily buying off the shelf. Because we are not in an established media ecosystem. We're not in, like I said, it's not a channel. This is a load of different channels bolted together around gaming. We just need to collaborate to find solutions that deliver what we need to see for our clients, essentially. And that's what we do see.
And I think that's it as well. You touched on that as well. It's knowing what you want to solve for, right? You can, to your previous point, you can build whole universes in gaming, but knowing what you want to solve for, and then hopefully we can make your life a lot easier in terms of delivering that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I just want to say a massive thank you to Jamie, incredible partner, and thank you for sharing your insights as well to us today. If you haven't already, please go and visit our booth. There's a fastest lap Forza 5 opportunity there. You can win an Xbox, so please go and see our wonderful team there as well, who can also share further insights, measurement, all the latest case studies that we've been doing as well. But thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.